We got a great show lined up for you on Retiring Well this week. So many different topics out there. The first one, John and I are going to kick off and talking about mismatched risk. So often we see people out there got one type of investment and they tell us they want something else. Why is that a mismatch and what can we do about that? Then Ray's going to be talking about finding a purpose in retirement. Boy, that can be a struggle going from those working years to then going to those retirement years and making sure those match up. Ashley's going to come in and talk about what happens during a market correction. Boy, some concerning times for people when that happens out there. A lot of panic, concern, fear, all those things. But what happens behind the scenes out there? Jack then has an interesting take on the segment, Finding the Solution to a Problem. Boy, he's got some ideas and stuff that you're not going to want to miss. And then to wrap up the show, Leah is going to be talking about what can you do with your old 401k. Maybe something you had from a previous employer, something you had from long ago. What are some various options out there? All this and so much more coming at you right here, right now on Retiring Well.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well. Plan to retire well.
My youngest son, his greatest mission in life, I think, is to frustrate me when it comes to laundry. You know, when you're doing laundry and you're trying to find socks that match and you're putting them all together and that sort of stuff, and you get them put away and help him out. And then every morning he comes up ready for school and he's got two different pair of socks on, completely mismatched all the time. And apparently, I don't know if that's the cool thing to do or if that's just him because he knows it probably gets under my skin of after trying to make sure we find those matches, but to have that mismatch approach there. But John, when I think of that, you know, I often think, you know, mismatched socks, how can that possibly be any related to investments? But oftentimes we see people come into the office and they completely have not matching investments to what they're trying to accomplish with their life.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, just recently there's a couple, they're in the Benzie area, and she'd been working for the same employer for, I think it was close to 33 years now. And so it's one, had done a great job saving, building up this 401k, and then basically through our conversation said, well, hey, I want to be, you know, pretty low risk. I'm looking to retire in the next 6 months. I really don't want a ton of risk exposure to the market, you know, and if things are volatile, that would really sort of upset me. And so as we were able to dive into that 401k, pretty much found, okay, wait a second, you're ultimately in about 100% stocks within this 401k. And she said, well, I assumed that as I got older, it would just sort of take care of itself and it would reduce the risk exposure. But as we talked a little bit further, she sort of said, well, yeah, I set this up 30 plus years ago and just sort of picked the most aggressive option, but just again, sort of made that assumption that somehow somebody was out there taking care of this for her, and ultimately learned pretty quickly as I had analyzed that that's not the case. She was in a structure that was completely mismatched from where her comfort zone was.
Yeah, and that can be really scary, right? There's an opinion or a belief by somebody that something's happening one way and it's not happening the other. Now, thankfully, you know, for in her case and in many people's case, we see this often where we've been in pretty good market times lately, right? We've been fortunate. If you've been in equity exposure, generally speaking, you've probably done fairly well recently because we haven't had too many big pullbacks per se in the market. So again, kind of I see that same situation happening with some folks maybe that are self-managing or have bought some stocks and have been sitting on those. Again, likely they've done fairly well, but understanding we kind of get lulled to sleep thinking that these things are just going to always go up when we get into these patterns that generally do pretty well. Again, it's like a car that eventually is going to run out of gas. You know, you can set that thing on cruise for a long time, get good gas mileage going down the highway, but eventually you're going to have to stop and refill the tank. You know, when it comes to different investments, we got to be careful with looking at that. That's why when we sit down with folks that come in from the TV show or come in from, you know, being referred to us, we spend a lot of time, even to the point probably where some people are like, why do we keep talking about this? But truly understanding what your comfort level is. Our goal is to never have somebody open a statement up and say, wow, I had no idea I could lose whatever it is. And I hear that far too often with folks when they have their 401ks or they have something that they don't pay attention to, is they get trapped in thinking that they can't lose money.
Yeah, it's so true. And you want to be talking to your advisor on a regular basis. I mean, there's a lot of things that can change with the markets, with the economy, that you want to be taking into consideration. And along with that, major life changes. I mean, when you think about it, and as you're, say you're changing careers and you had an old 401k plan. Well, what are the best options? Is it best to roll it into the new company's 401k plan, or should you consider rolling that to a traditional IRA or Roth IRA, whatever it may be? So there's different decisions that need to be made as different life changes occur. And so you want to have a relationship, ideally, with that financial advisor, so you're walking alongside each other and giving some good guidance along the way for all those major changes that can be happening.
So true, John. I mean, this is your financial life ahead of you. I mean, this is such a big part you've worked so hard to put money away for. Don't take it lightly. Don't let it go unnoticed. People spend more time planning for vacations or doing, scrolling online or whatever that may be. Spend a little time and sit down with an advisor, understand what you have, make sure your investments match up with your goals and objectives so you can have a successful future ahead, and so you too can plan to retire well.
Every business says they're better, but the ones that earn and display the BBB seal back it up. It instantly identifies businesses that are committed to operating with integrity, honoring promises, and telling the truth. Makes you wonder why every business doesn't have it. So look for it, because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
Here at Centennial Wealth Advisory, we feel education is paramount to wise decisions. Your retirement should not be left to chance. Our team of advisors has put together an educational half-hour-long program to discuss the many complex decisions you'll be faced with in retirement, including income, investment, estate, taxes, and healthcare. Tune in weekly to learn about all these topics and so much more, or visit cen-wealth.com.
You've spent decades working hard, raising your family, building your career, keeping everything running, and then one day it all changes. There's no need to set an alarm. Your email inbox quiets down, and the meetings vanish. Welcome to retirement. For some, that sounds like pure freedom, but for others, it may feel a bit stranger, maybe a little unsettling. So today, I'm going to dive into how to create a fresh sense of purpose in retirement. Because here's the thing. This isn't about slowing down. It's about starting a new chapter in life and doing the things that matter most to you. And one of the things that I enjoy most about meeting with our clients is hearing about all the exciting and new things that they're doing in retirement. So during your working years, your days had specific structure, whether you worked part-time, full-time, 9 to 5, or even the night shift, your week had fairly predictable and a regular schedule. Then retirement comes, and the structure and routines seem to just disappear. But guess what? You can create new ones. Now, this doesn't mean scheduling every second of your day, but it does mean creating a balanced rhythm. So maybe your mornings are going to start with taking a walk, and then afternoons include maybe learning something new, and evenings are for socializing or relaxing. So structure prevents that "what day is it" feeling and replaces it with intention. So, how can you fill your extra time? Well, the possibilities are endless, but here's a few ideas. Retirement is one of the best times to expand your knowledge and learn something new. So think of all those things that you wanted to learn, but you never had the time to. So there's things like maybe taking a class on photography, or maybe learning how to play a musical instrument. Learning keeps your mind sharp, but it also does something even more important. It gives you a sense of accomplishment, much like the sense of accomplishment you had during your career. Then there are the different hobbies you can potentially pick from, like painting or writing, maybe gardening, woodworking, sewing. So many people say, "I'll do that when I retire." And then retirement comes and they're not sure where to begin. Well, this is your permission slip to explore and try new things. Creativity can stimulate your brain, reduce stress, and bring joy. Retirement is also the perfect time to prioritize regular physical activity. So studies show that regular exercise can improve physical health by reducing the risk of chronic diseases like heart disease and dementia. Now, it can also boost your mood and mental well-being along with increasing energy and quality of life. Just make sure to consult with your doctor before starting any type of exercise program. Now, I love hearing about all the countless activities our clients are participating in, from walking clubs to maybe pickleball or golf leagues, swimming, yoga. Our clients seem to love a variety of activities, which is great because regular exercise can make retirement healthier and more enjoyable. Now, beyond routines and hobbies, there's something deeper that makes retirement fulfilling, and that's purpose and relationships. One way to build purpose is to volunteer or mentor. During your career, you've gained years of skills and experience, sharing it, whether through charitable organizations, maybe community groups, or mentoring younger professionals. These not only helps others, but it also boosts your own physical and emotional health. Again, studies consistently show volunteering is linked to longevity and improved well-being. Now, building and maintaining relationships is also essential in retirement, whether that's meeting new people, strengthening current friendships, or reconnecting with family members. And maybe joining a club, attending a community events, participating in a Bible study, or going to your condo association's weekly coffee gathering. These are just a few of the many ways that you can maintain that sense of connection with others. Now, while you may be eager to fill your extra time, it's also too important to be realistic. Family members and even friends may just assume that because you're retired, you're suddenly available 24/7. Well, babysitting, school pickups, running errands, or other favors, they can quickly fill your days. And while being involved is wonderful, it's important to communicate openly and honestly about your time. So if you're approaching retirement, or even already in it, here's the big takeaway. Retirement isn't the closing of a door. It's the opening of a chapter where you can ask, what really matters to me? And then shape your time around that answer. Now, I've talked a lot about purpose here, and our purpose here at Centennial Wealth Advisory is to help give you the financial freedom to live out your new purpose in retirement. If you'd like more information about us, check out our website and subscribe to our YouTube channel to learn more about retirement topics that can help you plan to retire well.
You made it. Years of hard work, investing, planning, and now you're here. The long-awaited reward you spent a lifetime looking forward to. But what now? After years of growing a nest egg, now you may want to manage it. Use it to fund your dreams. Make it last as long as you need it. And leave some for those you love. So what do? Wall Street continues to be uncertain, and some conservative options have dropped through the floor. How do you maintain opportunities for growth and reduce risk of loss from market changes? That's where we come in. We are financial professionals. From investments and insurance products to tax reduction strategies and guaranteed retirement income you cannot outlive, provided by the claims-paying ability of insurance companies. You've worked a lifetime to get here. Let us help you enjoy it to the fullest. For a complimentary consultation, simply contact us today.
Today we're talking about something that can make even the seasoned investor a little nervous, and that is a market correction. So you've probably heard that term on the news. The market is in correction territory. But what does that actually mean? So a market correction is generally defined as a drop of about 10% from a recent market high. And while that may sound alarming, It's actually a normal and healthy part of the investing cycle. In fact, if you look at market history, corrections have fairly regularly happened. On average, the stock market experiences a correction about once every 1 to 2 years. So what's really happening during these periods? First, markets are essentially repricing their risk. Prices sometimes run up quickly when investors are optimistic about economic growth, corporate earnings, or lower interest rates. But new information comes into the picture, like changes in inflation data, interest rate policy, or global events, and that's when markets adjust. That adjustment can look like a quick drop. But it's important to understand that a correction is not the same thing as a market crash or a low long-term bear market. In many cases, corrections are simply a pause or a reset. So before the market continues its long-term trend. Another thing that happens during a correction is emotion. Investors are human, right? When markets are rising, confidence is high, but when prices start to fall, fear sets in. And often that fear leads to people making decisions that can hurt their long-term financial plan, like selling investments at a loss or moving out of the market at the wrong time. This is one of the reasons having a long-term strategy is so important. So because when you have a plan in place, one that's built around your goals, your time horizon, your risk tolerance, market corrections become a lot less scary. In some cases, they can even represent opportunities. So let me share a real life story with you. I think it'll illustrate this very well. A few years ago, we had a client come into our Traverse City office. We'll call him John. He was in his mid-60s and he was planning to retire within the next 5 years. He had built a solid portfolio over time, but like many people, he was very concerned about market volatility. When the market started dropping during a correction, John called us very worried. He said, "Should we just sell everything and go to cash until everything settles down?" And that's a very common reaction. We looked at his retirement timeline, we reviewed his income needs, and we talked about the fact that his portfolio was already set up and designed to handle market ups and downs. So rather than selling during the downturn, he stayed invested. And by having the right strategy, proper diversification, and clear plan, it helped him navigate through these moments with confidence. If you're interested in learning more about markets, how markets work, retirement strategies, and how to build a strong financial plan, we share a lot of educational content online. You can visit our Retiring Well YouTube channel, where we break down topics just like this one on market volatility, retirement income planning, tax strategies, and a whole lot more in simple, easy to understand videos. If you'd like to talk about your own financial plan as well, we offer a complimentary consultation where we can review your current strategy, answer some questions that you may have, and help you understand whether your portfolio is positioned properly for today's market environment. So you can give us a call and schedule a consultation at any one of our Northern Michigan locations. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is having a strategy that works for you and the confidence to stick through it, through those market ups and downs.
Living life isn't always easy. It puts up challenges and obstacles you'll have to overcome. There are responsibilities. You put in effort to provide and take care of your family, to save and invest, to balance work and life. Planning is the first step to succeeding. Plan to retire well. If you like watching Retiring Well, make sure to go to youtube.com/retiringwell and click the subscribe button to never miss any of our TV shows and other informative videos.
Hey, welcome to this segment on whatever you're not changing, you're choosing. Now, I do want to give you a quick disclaimer on this. When I first heard this quote, it made me think a lot. But today I'm not talking about the situations in life that you did not choose and you cannot change. That's a completely different scenario. I'm talking about things you can change. So I'm going to use something that was recent in my life, and we're also going to go down a little bit of my own history. So when I was 14 years old, I was at Bittersweet ski area down south of Grand Rapids. I had these skis, and I had a whole bunch of my friends saying, "Hey Jack, I think you can do a backflip." And I thought, I've done some on the trampoline, but I'm not sure about on skis. And they're like, come on, you can do it. So I thought, all right, I think maybe I can do this, okay? Little foreshadowing here. That's what we see people doing in retirement all the time. Can I retire? I don't know. Should I retire? Yeah, do it, okay? So now we'll go back to the top of the mountain. We build a jump. I'm skiing down to it, but I'm second guessing myself. And so I launch off the jump. I commit, kind of, and all of a sudden I landed right on my belly. Okay, so I came back around, landed on my belly, and had a yard sale. My friends, came flying down, and they were obviously concerned. Are you okay? Are you okay? And I jumped up, I grabbed my stuff, and I said, absolutely. And I know exactly what I have to do. I have to hit this jump with full confidence. I have to send it, and I know I'm gonna be okay. So I went and hit the jump again. I committed fully, and from that point on, I had, knock on wood, never fallen on a backflip again. So I had to fail to kind of figure out what I needed, and I needed the confidence, and I needed the right coaching to get there. So then a couple of years later, twin tips started to come out. So I went and got a new pair of twin tips. You go forwards and backwards and all the cool tricks and everything. Okay, but that was right as kind of the end of my skiing aggressive career. So now we have to fast forward to Cabernet Peaks a couple of weeks ago. I was helping McBain Public Schools with Ski Club, and I'm skiing down the hill, and all of a sudden I hear my son Micah's friend Owen. He's like, ow, ow, ow. And it's kind of a heavier, wet snow, and I look back and I realize that these twin tips here, the snow is coming off of the twin tip, and it's pelting him in the face and in the body, and that's what he was complaining about. And then I realized, I'm like, you know what? I'm actually hurting the people around me, after I got through a couple little chuckles. And so then I started thinking a lot about that quote, whatever you're not changing, you're choosing. So then my choice is, okay, do I really need these? Am I going to be going backwards and doing all kinds of crazy things in the park at my age? Answer, no. Do I want to go back to something that's old when they have all kinds of new technologies? No. So I'm going to be choosing something different so I can change the experience of myself and also the people around me. Now, how does that apply to retirement planning? Super simple. Here's 5 areas that I see people not choosing the correct thing. And because of that, they're not changing the correct strategies. And it's not only hurting them, it's hurting the people that they care about most. Okay, the first one, tax bracket optimization. Here's a quick little example. This year, we did a $10,000 Roth conversion for a client. They were able to do 0 federal, 0 state tax withholding. Small amount, but it changed their tax efficiency for sure because they did tax bracket optimization. Same scenario, but different numbers. We had a client that did a $300,000 Roth conversion for their life, and what they were trying to accomplish. So we first had to educate to a point of decision so that they could choose to change what their future outcome looked like. The other one that we see quite a bit in the tax efficiency strategies are mutual funds buried inside of these non-qualified accounts that are kicking out phantom income, dividends, and interest that are showing up on the tax return. It is not tax efficiency. And so then we have strategies that we can help connect you to let you choose a different way. The second thing is when it comes to Social Security and claiming strategies, it's super important to connect what that contractual income is going to look like along with tax planning, okay? And so when you connect those two, now you have a plan that is going to help not only you, but the people around you. The third one there is sequence of return risk. Listen, I'm not going to be doing backflips, so don't think you're going to see me flying upside down. I don't need the risk. I don't want the risk. I'm just going to go cruising. But people have no idea the risk that they're taking in their portfolios. And because they're not choosing to learn something that might be different, they're actually not changing, and I think that they're taking a lot more risk than they need to, and so that education is so important. The fourth one, I see people giving to churches and to charities, but they're 70 and a half and they're not doing it out of their IRA. I said, hey, you should look at this, okay? It's a great way to give. And then finally, no estate planning. Estates that are not been reviewed in the last 3 years or not even in good order in the first place. I hope this helps. As always, reach out anytime. We love teaching to the point of a decision. Have a great day.
Your grandchildren are precious to you. They are your life. This is your time to have that special relationship. Taking care of yourself is taking care of them. Centennial Wealth Advisory is offering a free, no-obligation retirement review to make sure you don't run out of money during your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
A question we hear all the time is, what do I do with my old 401k? Maybe you have multiple 401ks from your previous employers. Maybe you only have one from your current employer, or maybe from your previous because you've retired. Now, when you have all these 401ks, it's important to understand your options, right? So maybe you leave them all where they're at. Maybe you have different 401ks and that makes sense for you. Maybe you combine them all to one 401k. You could also roll it to a traditional IRA, not a taxable event, or you can take distributions from it, right? What we're going to talk about is the distributions. So when you get ready and you're like, I'm in retirement, I need some funds. When you take a distribution from your 401k, there's a IRS requirement of 20% withholding for your federal taxes. Maybe it makes sense for you based on your income and such for that withholding, but if it doesn't, you have to wait a whole year until you can get that refund back. In a traditional IRA, that's the benefit of rolling it over, is you can withdraw and completely control the tax withholding. So federal and state tax withholdings, you can control the amounts and such. A 401k has the age of 55 benefit. So if you are retiring early, and maybe it makes sense to leave the 401k where it's at so you can take the distributions in that 4.5 years between age 55 and 59.5, because the traditional IRA has that 59.5 rule. Now, your other option is the 72T, which I would encourage you, if that's something you want to explore, to talk to a licensed professional on that. If you have questions on what to do with your old 401ks, give us a call and we're happy to help and sit down and educate you of all your options.